Hello and welcome to episode 16 of We Bought a Boat, the final episode of season 1, our trip to Burnham. Coming up in this episode we have an emergency and start taking on a lot of water. I think it's probably the biggest emergency I've had this season, and it turns out to be something quite serious, and the trip, as you're going to see coming up, doesn't quite go to plan. Hello and welcome to episode 16 of We Bought a Boat. As you can see, I'm currently on a mooring just out in Leigh-on-Sea. I've taken the boat out for a bit of a shakedown today. We've had some leaks in the bilges, and next week we're doing quite a long trip to take Ian's boat up to Burnham to have the engine replaced. So I'm going to follow him up. We're going to stay in the marina for the night and then we're going to sail back. It's about 10 hours to get there and 10 hours to get back, so it's quite a long sail. So I just wanted to check a few things. So we've just popped out here very quickly. Most of this episode is going to be that trip, so I'm just grabbing a few bits now while I'm sitting out here. Going to spend the night out here and then head back in on the tide tomorrow. But it's a glorious day today, really beautiful. As you can see from the pictures in the background, it's absolutely stunning. But yeah, that's going to be most of the episodes. Not much to discuss at this point. There's a couple of images of us coming out, as you've seen, and not much exciting stuff happening at the moment. But next week, yeah, that's going to be, hopefully the weather is going to be there for us, and that's going to be a really exciting end of season trip for us. So a nice long sail up to Burnham and back again. Hopefully not too much motoring. Going to try and sail as much as possible. I know Ian's keen to do as much sailing as he can, being its last trip. And then obviously then him and his partner Kate will be on the boat for the return trip. Not sure who else is coming. I know that my wife Angela is coming. Not sure if my son William's going to come on this trip, but we'll let you know. So I will check in again with you probably next. You'll see us heading out on that trip. This is the bit I love the most. It's beautiful out here at night. Got the south end glistening in the lights over there. It's quiet. All I can hear is the birds singing, chirping, water running, wind's died down, sea's nice and flat. It's beautiful. And then you get to come down the stairs. And enjoy some pasta and meatballs with a beer. And of course, what else can we watch? Got Point Break. Does it get any better than this? So Saturday morning, it's just gone 7. We're just heading out the rain now. Gonna get out past the pier and then hopefully get the sails up. Looks like we've got sort of 15 to 20 knots today from a southerly, which is perfect. So it's going to be behind us hopefully all the way. Oddly at the moment it seems to be right on the nose, so I'm not really sure what's going on there, but we'll see. So this is the first update on the trip to Burnham. As I said, I'm buddying with Ian this morning, as you can see from the shots. But tomorrow I've got to head back on my own. So what I've got to pay attention to today is the time it takes us to get there, because I've got to time it well to come back tomorrow. I need to be back here no later than 6 really. I need to be picking up the boy at 6, because last night it was dark by about 20 past, 6:30. So I don't want to be coming in here in the dark. So I'm going to leave with a lot of margin for error tomorrow, I think, even if I have to beat into the tide a little bit initially. I'm still probably going to do that and head out early, so I make sure I'm back here nice and early, so there's no dramas when I get here tomorrow night. So at the moment, as I say, just motoring out, and when we get the sails up and we're underway properly, I'll give you another update. So as you can see, we've got the sails up, and Ian has made a tack across, and I've pulled the head sail in. What I have realised that I haven't shown you on camera is that I've been down below, and I've started to notice that in the engine bay we are taking on quite a lot of water. It's about half a foot up. The engine bay at the moment, it's not quite hitting the alternator yet, but obviously I can't see where the water's coming in from. I also noticed that the bilges in the centre of the boat are starting to fill up, so I quickly, as you can see here, jump on the radio over to Ian and let him know that I'm taking on water, and what does he think I should do. He advises me very quickly that I should probably turn around and abandon the journey at this point. The weather hasn't quite been what we suspected. We've had a different wind direction. It was predicted to come from the southeast, and we're actually getting it from the northwest. And we're having to motor, and we did have the sails up, but we were really beating into it. So Ian advises that I should probably turn around, but there's a slight problem with this, which we're just discussing on the radio here, is that we only bought one dinghy, and as you're probably aware, back at Benfleet at the boat club, we've got to have a dinghy in order to get back to shore. So what I'm doing here is I've disconnected the autopilot, the auto tiller, and I'm going over to Ian, and we're going to try and attempt for him to pass the dinghy over to me, because obviously he's going off to Burnham, and they've got a marina there and his boat's been pulled out, bloody blah, he doesn't need the dinghy. So I've manoeuvred over to the side of him. The camera never does it justice, but it is quite choppy, it's blowing quite hard, and Kate's trying to throw me a rope while I'm trying to tiller and not crash into the side of Ian's boat. We quickly come to the conclusion that this plan isn't really working. I'm on talking to Kate, saying, Kate, I don't think this is going to work. And what I quickly decide to do is just to put the motor on turn around, and I radio over to Ian and just say not to worry about it. So the plan now is to head back to Southend. I'm about 3 or 4 miles away from the pier at this stage. So I turn around, put the motor on. It's a bit more comfortable now because the wind is behind me, and I make my way very slowly back to Southend, with the idea now of grabbing a mooring buoy, and then I can assess this water coming into the boat. Can I find where it's coming from, but more importantly, get the water out of the engine bay and out of the bilges. So just some clips now of me heading back in, and then you'll see I tie up to a buoy, and I go down below and have a look at what the issues are. So update, I don't know how much you got of that, if any, but I've got water in my engine bay. When I get onto a buoy, I'll show you. I know it's come from the bilge, and because we're beating into waves, it's all going into the engine bay, but I don't want to risk going 6-7 hours up the coast with my engine bay full of water. So I've turned around, and I'm going to head back in, pick up a buoy, pump this water out, and I'll have to watch the fireworks, unfortunately, from Southend Pier tonight, and then head back in the morning. So my trip to Burnham, my final trip, is not quite gone to plan. So I will update you again when we're back on the buoy, and I'll show you what's going on. So here you can see I'm up on the bow. I'm just getting the ropes ready to pick up a buoy. I've got to obviously do this single-handed, as I haven't mentioned before. My wife Angela decided not to come on this trip because she had some work commitments that she couldn't get out of. So I'm solo. I've done this before. It's blowing quite heavy, so I've made a plan that I want to bring it down my port side and let the wind and the tide kind of blow me onto the buoy. So it all kind of goes okay, but I just wanted to let you know what's going on here. I'm just getting prepared, and I'm approaching the buoy. It's just off the bow in front of us. You can probably just about see it, and here it comes up the side of the boat. It does get past me pretty quick because the wind was blowing and the tide was moving, but I do in the end managing to grab it, and I get tied off. So here you can see I've grabbed the buoy and I'm just putting multiple lines on because I've got to spend the night on this buoy before I can head back in because of the tides, and it is forecast to blow 30 plus knots through the night. So I'm just getting multiple lines onto the buoy just to make sure I'm nice and secure and I don't get blown off during the night and get blown up onto the banks to my port side and starboard side. So I've tied, I think it's 3 lines on just to be extra safe. Right, so as you saw, I'm all moored up, caught the buoy. I'm now pumping out the water. So I've emptied the centre bilge, which is down here. That's all empty now. Pumped it out, and I'm now pumping out the water from the engine bay. Once I've done that, I'm going to give it a clean in the bilges, and then yeah. But I think I think it's kind of made a decision for me that what I would do is I will pull the boat out a bit earlier. So I think, you know, this was always scheduled to be the last trip of the season. So what I'll probably do is ask the bosun if I can come out a bit earlier. We think we might know what this is. We think it might be that my bilge pump pipe doesn't have a non-return valve on it, which means, and the exit for it, which is only a couple of inches above the waterline. So we think what is happening is that the water's coming back in and going into the bilges, which would make sense. So anyway, I'm going to carry on pumping out this water, and I'll update you again in a little while. Hello. So all the jobs are done. Bilges are all pumped out, engine bay's all pumped out. Everything's done. I'm now sitting about to cook some lunch as I'm now stuck here for the day. It's just gone 1 o'clock, so it's taken me a couple of hours to get everything sorted out, stowed away and packed up and cleaned up. And yeah, there was a lot of crap in my bilges, so I cleaned drained them all out first, then cleaned them all out. There was so much gunk in there. But I think I've spoken to Sam over at Sam Sales as well and had a quick chat with him. He concurs that we think it's there's no non-release valve, return valve on my bilge pump pipe. So we're gonna obviously, when we haul out, check that, put one in, see if that solves the problem. But yeah, massive disappointment. I was so excited about this weekend. Weather forecasts, God knows what's going on with the weather forecasts. About 45 minutes after I got in, to an hour after I got hooked up to this buoy, the wind started to move around, and it's now coming from the southwest. So it did eventually move around to the direction, but not as forecast. It was supposed to be that from this morning, from early this morning, and we're supposed to have that all day. But as I said, the first couple of hours we were really beating into some horrible wind. Well, it wasn't horrible, but I think the fact that my engine bay was filling up with water just made it, you know, untenable really to carry on. I think as a skipper, you've got to sail within particularly your own boundaries and your own comfort level, and going that distance with an engine bay that started slowly filling up with water probably wasn't the most sensible thing to do. I think heavily on my mind was the fact that I've got to come back tomorrow on my own. So if there's an issue where I'm taking on water, when under motor or even under sail, then it's a no-go. So that's something we've got to get sorted out this winter when we lift out, and get that problem rectified. And I think it's shown me now, having a good look around, there's some modifications I need to do to the bilges. So I've got 3 bilge hatches in this boat, but I do have another bilge that doesn't seem to have an access panel to it, so I can't actually physically get into that bilge and properly drain it out. I've drained it out as much as I can with the tool that I've got, and there's a minimal amount of splash of water in there, but I can't get in there and clean it out. So I think in the winter I'm going to cut another hole in the saloon floor and put another hatch in so I can access that bilge. And then I'm going to take the bilge pump out, give that a good clean because that's really dirty. Have a look at that, put that non-return valve in the pipe and see if that solves the problem next season, and on a shakedown trip, and see if that works. But also the engine bay's quite dirty, full of gunk because of all the water that's been getting in there. So I've got to clean that engine bay out and just really do a proper tidy up and make sure this boat's really ship shape when we go back in next year. So apologies everyone. It was forecast to be absolutely perfect, so we're supposed to have a south-southwest for today to sail all the way up to Burnham, and then tomorrow we were supposed to have a northeast to push us all the way back. So unfortunately I didn't get either. So in total we've done about 18 miles. So we went out about 9-10 miles, and then I had to turn around and head back. Fortunately, when I did turn around, because the wind was blowing from the northwest, it blew me all the way back. With the waves and the wind, I flew back, even though I was against the tide. So I got back in nice and quick and got onto a buoy, and as I just said, I got everything pumped out and sorted. But it's a bit of a shame. It's a bit of a wake up that I probably should have done more last winter when the boat was out before I put it back in to check these things. But first season, naivety, lack of knowledge, didn't know. So it's going to be a winter of some work. Me and Ian have got to put a compression post in underneath the mast as well, to solve that issue, because I've got a little bit of compression which is stopping my toilet door from opening properly. So thanks for joining me. I'll be back in a couple of weeks once the boat's out of the water, and then that'll be the next episode. I'll run through all the jobs that we're going to do and all the improvements we're going to do. Got to sort out a lot of the wiring. I've got a new charge controller, a Victron charge controller for my solar panel. I've got the solar panel brackets now as well, so I can mount them just on the side of the cockpit on a swinging bracket, which will be better than where it is now under the boom on the deck. So so quite a bit to do. So I'll run through everything I'm going to do in the next episode. But thanks for joining us. If you haven't done already, just take a second to like, subscribe, and hit the little bell, the notifications bell. Really helps the channel. As I said before, really motivates us to keep going. Loving all the comments from you guys and the questions and the support. And I hope you've enjoyed the first season. We'll do a couple of episodes of the upgrades and jobs we're going to do on the boat through the winter, and then we'll be into next season 2. So I will see you guys shortly for the next episode. So that's the end of season 1. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you for the winter episodes. So that's the end of season 1. As you can see, we pulled the boat out. I've just got a few clips here running in the background of us on the mooring buoy before we headed back in to be pulled out. Thank you so much for all the comments, all the subscribers, all the likes. As I said before, it's been a massive motivator to know that we've got you guys watching. We'll be back soon for some winter upgrade videos, as I mentioned before. I really hope you've enjoyed all the content we've put out. We're really looking forward to season 2. We've got some good trips planned already for next year. As I said, we're potentially going to the south coast, but also Ian has got some trips planned up the east coast as well, which we'll probably start off the season with. But thank you very much. We will be back in a couple of weeks. At the moment, we're in the middle of this storm, so we're not getting down to the boatyard this weekend to do any jobs, but we will be starting in a few days' time, and I will get some content of what we're doing to the boat. Quite a lot to get done. So thanks again. We'll see you again in a couple of weeks for the season of fixing and upgrades to the boat and getting ready for season 2. So we'll see you all again soon.